Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we are joined by Matt Barron, a paranormal consultant and podcaster, and he's going to explain to us what all of that means. So strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown. Welcome, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us today. Kyle and I have been doing this podcast for about, 8 months now, Kyle? Since March or April. And we've come across a lot of people who work and have, if not full-time jobs, at least part-time jobs dealing with the paranormal. Mm-hmm. And it seems like all of them have some common themes, but for everybody, there's a little bit of difference about what that means, the paranormal. And I guess to start off, I would like to ask you, what does it mean when you are a consultant or you work with the paranormal?
Well, honestly, it all started for me. I ran 3 separate teams as a founder, and we've done homes, businesses, stuff like that. But the one thing that I noticed in this field, and I think most of us can say this, is there was no camaraderie. Like, a lot of people were isolated. Teams wouldn't want to work together. There was just nothing to really pull us in. And the communities were divided through drama and a lot of other things. And there's a lot of teams that needed help growing and learning, especially beginners. They want to come into the field, but they have nobody to really mentor to them. So when I closed out my 3rd team, this last one, I was going to just stop in the field completely because I was just tired of it. So I decided, I was talking to my wife, Mackenzie, and I said, I really want to help out. I really want to get back into the field, but I want to help. And she said, well, why not just do something like that? Like, just help out the field. And I said, I don't know. I just don't know how to do that. And she goes, well, why, like something like a consultant? Do you want to be a consultant? And I was like, paranormal consultant. Yeah, then I liked the ring to it. It sounded great. So
I bet it looks awesome on a business card.
Oh, dude, it was like I've gone through so many business cards. But I don't know. It sounded just perfect. And the consultancy is basically just that. There's like, I'm not after myself. I'm not after, it's Nando. I'm not after, anything specific. I just want to help. I just want to help people out. There's no agenda. Like, my wife and I don't have a team. We don't have a group. It's just us helping people out. There's a lot of consultants out there, but they're like authors and TV shows, like hosts and stuff, which is fine, but there's nobody to help the little guys.
So what do you mean by consultant? Like, so say somebody comes to you and like, I'm interested in investigating the paranormal. What do I need to do? And is that what you do, like a workshop and go on a couple investigations with them, tell them about the equipment and everything?
Yeah, I can. I basically take all my knowledge. Like, I've been in this field for 16 years. I've done over 400 homes and businesses, thousands of hours in training, like cemeteries, historical locations, and a lot of research. But I take all that and I basically just help them either build teams, build their groups, rebuild, help podcasters, if they need help with podcasting, I help them. But basically I kind of give them some guidance and to help them grow.
That's awesome because, that's the hardest part. It's like, where do I start? What do I need? How do I get it out? Like, where, even like the simplest things of like, how does everybody get to hear my podcast? Like, it's, what is an RSS feed? What, you know what I mean? Like, those are those are all like, that's great that you're there to push people in that direction instead of like looking through chat forums and getting misdirected and misinformation and
Yeah, and the other thing is too is like with this group that I've started, it's called the P3 program. You know, it's a bunch of teams and individuals who support each other. So if say I travel somewhere, well, there's one of the main ones right there. that's actually one of the main reasons why I started the podcast is because of that guy right there. His name's Scott. We call him Mr. Fedora on my show. But we've all collectively come together. And if say I go to Florida, I have resources, I have connections, or I go, wherever I can meet up with these individuals. And, it's not like if somebody says, oh, well, I want to go to let's just say Gettysburg. Everyone likes Gettysburg. I want to go. It's not just wandering around going, okay, well, where do I go? What do I do? You have a network of people. So it helps out in that way as well.
Yeah, because, here it was awesome as, as we were starting this podcast, part of it was started because I've had so many encounters and lifelong stuff that have happened with the paranormal where I got with Sam and I was like, how do I project this out to get insight, how to do this? And what happened was we ended up going to a paranormal
meet and greet.
Yeah, there was like a meet and greet. So we could meet and everybody can meet other groups and get together and it's been awesome because now we've met all these cool people and we've got to, go with these different groups and, and it's nice learning that a lot of the people in this community are actually really just out to help and to, because there's a lot of, I'll say like Facebook, for example, like doing like a car group.
Yeah.
What oil do I change? Oh, you're the biggest asshole on the planet for asking that question. And what was cool is what I've noticed about being on this podcast and like the meet and greet is when you have those questions that you're not sure about, having good people to be able to, answer those questions and help you in a direction.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the common factors that we've come across when we have gotten to know these paranormal groups and the individuals who start the groups is that they all have this sort of apprehension to discuss their own experiences with other people. And I would suppose that part of building the community is building a place where people feel comfortable or safe to share those experiences with one another, and finding a way to legitimize the experiences that people have. So as a consultant, as someone who's building a community, how is it that you have been able to facilitate that kind of opening or space in which people can explore their paranormal experiences?
Well, the first thing that really helped me, especially with this P3 program, is we all understand that there's no drama, first and foremost, and everything is constructive criticism. So that's the first step is you have to, like Kyle, like you said, you go into, different chats and people call you out for this or that. That doesn't happen. You have to put that to the side and you have to understand that there is no stupid questions. If somebody is asking a question, that means that they are looking for that advice. They're looking for help. And it is our job and our responsibility as a community to give them that. So that has to be the first thing to be torn down is that openness. And you create that environment to where people can feel comfortable and safe being able to ask those questions. Because I've had people literally ask me, something as simple as what's the best flashlight? What kind of flashlight do I use? Well, I use a mag light. That's me personally. And just let people know that, whatever they ask is going to get responded to. And it's going to be constructive. It's all for the better. Now we all joke around and, bust on each other and have fun. But, that's the main thing, though, is first creating that environment.
Yeah, because, that's the point of having these groups is to come in and ask questions, because nobody wants to hear Well, why don't you try your friend Google? Well, no, I joined this group to talk to like-minded people about something that I'm interested in. Anybody can Google, but then you don't exactly the whole point of connecting with people and having that place. If you go to Gettysburg or if you go
Yeah.
somewhere, you don't get that from just using your friend Google.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also the experiences too, because some people like they don't realize, especially starting out in the field, that there is certain pieces of equipment that work for people and some that don't. A really good buddy of mine, who I consider a brother, Brian John Laverty, he loves the SB7. He loves that spirit box, and he does great work with it. Me, I don't get the reaction. I don't get the responses. It just doesn't fit right with my investigative style. And that's something that a lot of people fail to realize is you have to be able to give sound advice and let people make their own decision at the same time.
So, one of the things that I am thinking about when I hear about a paranormal consultant is that you help people get to the answers or the experiences that they're looking for. Is there any way that you've been able to improve the results that people have on their investigations?
I think, me personally, yes and no, because just like what I tell people is as a consultant, it's not me making the person better, they're making themselves better. You have to be able to give them that confidence to go out and do this, because as most, if you guys know too, you've been on investigations, if you're scared and timid, you're not going to get the results that you're going to get when you go out with confidence. And I can sit here and tell somebody, hey, well, go out and only use this or only do this style or do this or do that. That's not going to be comfortable for them. You can tell them try it, but I found with a lot of the success that these teams that I've helped, like say Minnesota Spirit Hunters, real great group of guys and girls. I mean, they are fantastic people. They went through a rebuilding stage. And the founder, Marcus Welly, came to me and said, hey, I want to rebuild. I want to do this. I want to do that. How do I do it? And I said, first of all, take control. Take control of your group. Run it the way you want to run it, but still keep the investigators, thoughts and feelings in mind. And run it your way. Run it their way. And it all comes down to that. It all comes down to giving these individuals the confidence to go out and do this. And just let them know, sometimes you're going to go out there and talk to yourself for 4 to 6 hours. And sometimes you go out there and, excuse the language, all hell's breaking loose. You have to give them that confidence and know it's okay.
So when you work with a team, is it kind of like bar rescue where you coming in, things are kind of falling apart and you're like, okay, we got to fix this. We got to fix that.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, yeah. Like I'll give Minnesota, for example, again. I've gone on a couple of virtual investigations with them. Just here on StreamYard, I'll just sit there and they investigate and I'll listen in and I'll watch and I'll listen to evidence and do things. And I'll just say, try this or try that. But oddly enough, when you say, I'm saying bar rescue, Scott, Warren Area Society of Paranormal, him and I were talking about doing a show, something similar to bar rescue, where we would go out, we would watch these teams, help these teams, and come back, 6 to 8 months later and check in with them and have that type of style. And that's something that it's in the works, but I think that'd be cool. Because that would be a constructive paranormal show, in my opinion. I mean, nothing against any of them out there, but it seems like a lot of the Hollywood shows and stuff are kind of destructive to the paranormal, and not really a huge fan. So it'd be nice to see something like that.
Yeah. So let me ask you, is Scooby-Doo's team, the Mystery Machine, are they a model paranormal research team or are they a cautionary tale?
I think they are a typical paranormal team. You always have that one guy or that one individual who's like, let's go, guys. Come on, let's go. And then you've got the scientific one, you have the skeptical one, and then you have the two idiots in the back, trying to cause all sorts of havoc. But I think that's a typical paranormal team. We all have them.
Yeah, I think our last investigation, I think Kyle was Shaggy. I was probably Scoob.
I'm like a mix of all of them. I'm that guy who's like, ooh, that's a real dark attic. That does not look safe. Screw it, let's go. Or you know what I mean? Like I did the USS North Carolina this past year, and I would walk around without my flashlight. It's like, let's go, let's get in the dark, let's have some fun, let's scare the crap out of ourselves. And I've told my teams in the past, if you see me pinned up against the wall or up on a ceiling fan spinning around, don't help me record that. That's good evidence right there.
Right?
Oh yeah, Aaron.
Don't
I have
help,
an
just
idea.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron's bashing on me. We have a little group. We have a little group, P3 Paranormal Gaming, and we play Phasmophobia. And that's my catchphrase. Hey, I have an idea. And everyone's like, no, no, no.
That's great. So what drew you initially to the paranormal?
Well, I think like most people, I had an experience when I was younger. I'll give you the short version. So an apparition literally passed through my vehicle at the age of 16. And here in Pennsylvania, you don't talk about it. It's the paranormal is very taboo. So I just kind of brushed it off or whatever. And then when I was out in San Diego, when I was in the military, a group of friends at this bar I used to hang out with, they wanted to go take me out investigating. And I've seen the shows and I was like, okay, they're kind of cool, whatever. And, I was young and stupid. I was like, bunch of girls want to go out to a cemetery or a dark location with me at night. Let's go. I don't care if we're looking for dead people or not. I was just a typical drunken guy. And then I had an experience. I had a black mass walk in front of me. And after that, it was like, okay, what the hell was that? And that's when I started doing some research. And I think that's what really sparked me was just the fact that there is something out there. There is something, there is some things that we just don't understand, that we don't see. And that curiosity just got the best of me. And I started networking, started reaching out to teams, tried to join a team, but they were all about money. And I was like, yeah, I'm not about that. I just want to help people. I want to learn more about this. And that's when I met with this other individual. His name was Scott as well. And he helped me start my first team. And so then we just started researching. And I hit books. And I'd watch these shows like Ghost Hunters. I'd watch the first 4 seasons. And I wouldn't watch them for entertainment. I'd study them. I would look at where they putting cameras. How are they doing this? What kind of questions are they asking? How are they interacting with each other? How are they doing this? How are they doing that? And I took notes. And from there, I just started just the same thing like we all do. Just started learning. 16 years later, here we are.
Wow. And over that 16 years, you mentioned, let's go scare ourselves. I think the two ghost hunts that I've been on recently, not one single second did I ever feel danger or threat or fear. I did feel a sense of kind of wonder or maybe kind of the historical part of me was like waking up and wanting to learn more about the places we were. But I am interested in hearing more about the fearful experiences that you've had. What are some of these experiences that maybe you have a story or two to share?
Well, I think originally it was the fear of the dark. That was the first thing because, you see the Hollywood, movies and stuff and everything happens in the deep, dark places, that you can't see. That's where you get the jump scares. And so for a while it was uncomfortable because I had to get over the fact I had to learn that the environment is exactly the same during the day as it is at night. It's just, you can't see, you lose your sense of sight. But as far as the scariest, I don't have any that made me like run away scared. Like we call it the dude run syndrome from Ghost Hunters. We don't have that. But I have been uncomfortable in certain locations that have made me back out. 3 of them, they're the only 3 demonics that I've dealt with. The first one had every sign, when you were getting attacked, when the family's getting attacked, your investigators are getting attacked, that it's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant situation. So that one made me very uncomfortable. And probably the only other one was I had a black mass, almost 10 feet tall, manifest right in front of me. And that was like, okay, backing away from you. You stay over there, I'll go over here. But I mean, I haven't really had any that would make me change my pants or anything like that. I haven't gotten that scared yet.
Well, time is a fickle mistress. So, have you been able to identify any of these types of entities that you've come across, or is it just still a mystery?
I have gotten to the point where I do understand that there is obviously something out there. The biggest question that most people have is there life after death? Well, us as paranormal investigators, we know that answer. Yes, it is. There is something out there. Otherwise, who are we talking to? The question we need to answer is what happens. And there's a lot of great theories out there on what happens, but I do understand that there is, the residuals. I've ran into those. I've ran into intelligence. I've ran into different types of hauntings. And some have been very forthcoming with a lot of information. They have helped me out, but they all have the same thing, like the white light, the weird sights, sounds, smells, colors, environments, and then just nothingness, and then peace, and then some don't even know. Some don't even know they passed on. But I think that together, like I talk about unity a lot in my shows and what I do, because I feel like that the paranormal field is a big jigsaw puzzle, and each and every one of us are a piece to that. And we all need to work together to get that answer, to figure it out. Now, will it happen in our lifetime? I don't know. I don't have any gifts like that, but at least we can start making steps towards that. So, I mean, I think I have an idea. I have my own theories, but to say whether they're right or wrong, I can't back it up with any evidence.
Well, that's kind of the situation with the afterlife, right? Is that it's this very difficult to penetrate veil, and all the evidence lies in a plane where we cannot physically access it except for occasionally.
Yeah.
And the reproduction of those types of results is very difficult. And so science is reluctant to acknowledge it or give it any credence other than anecdotal, because there's no reproducibility. That said, I would love to hear some of your theories.
Well, excuse me. Well, one of the theories I have is it's all up to choice. Like, this is my main theory. If somebody wants to stick around, then they stick around. They make that conscious choice, because obviously with intelligent style hauntings, there is some obviously intelligence to it. There's some consciousness. So if you don't want to pass on, if you don't want to go to wherever this next adventure takes you, you can stay. You have that option. Or if something happens tragically and quickly, like a car accident, something unexpected, you get trapped. Your consciousness hasn't made that connection, that your body isn't there. So I feel like there is some sort of choice. There is I don't want to say a limbo, but there is that moment where your consciousness either consciously or subconsciously makes to where you either stay or you move on. So that's one theory I have. Now, as far as, a residual, there's obviously some sort of energy in that area, in that environment, that has imprinted. It's like a video camera or a photo camera. You take a picture of it, you burn down the building, something happens, or the building's not there. You still have that picture. You still have that proof that something was there. So I think that the residual side of it is just basically a snapshot, a photo or a movie of that particular moment in time. Because I've seen that a lot down in Gettysburg. I'm here in Pennsylvania, so Gettysburg, there's a lot of obviously areas. There's a lot of historical events that were very traumatic. Yeah, in a sense, Aaron's right, like a CD skip, metaphysical CD skip. So the imprint of that moment in time is imprinted in that location.
Yeah. Kyle dipped out before he could mention this, but he has had a lot of different experiences and encounters with spiritual entities. And some of them behave like you just described, just kind of like replaying a moment in time over and over again. There's one that just kind of walks up and down his hall and then will stop and scream and then go back to walking up and down the hall. And every so often it just screams.
Ooh.
And there's no interacting with it. It just does what it does.
And that's something that that's something I've tried to, explain to people, with these residuals. It's like a DVD. You put a DVD in, you can yell at the actors or the actresses all you want, but they don't know you're watching them. They don't care you're watching them. You're not going to change it. So that's the best way to really describe a residual.
Yeah. And then he has others where they do interact. He has, basically like poltergeists that will steal stuff from him and then hide it for a little while. And then, I imagine they're gleefully watching him search frantically for his stuff. And then after a while, they just drop it on the floor in plain sight. Right? He's been there the whole time. And
I've ran across that. And, it's funny because I mentioned Brian John earlier. He said that if you're a jerk in, this life, you'll be a jerk in the next life. Well, I feel it's the same way. If you're playful, if you're a trickster, you're going to be like that in the next venture. I sadly had 2 cats pass away this year.
Oh man.
And I know they're still here. I've seen them, and not in the physical form. Like, I have a green screen behind me, obviously. And I saw the shape and the size of my one cat that we lost. I saw him rub up against that screen. We saw it move. There's no wind down here. We have no fans going at the time, and there was no reason for it. And it was he was a bigger cat, so we had that perfect shape of him rubbing against it. I've heard, the one we just lost not too long ago, I've heard her meowing and crying, and I know she's here. I know they're both here. So, it happens. It happens. So it brings, like, I have a different spin on death. I know, like I said, there's something else out there. Something else is going to happen. So, yeah, it sucks that the physical body isn't here. You can't physically interact with some of these people or, these animals. But the fact that there's something more kind of helps, because it's like, it's not a goodbye at this point. It's, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
So, it does help. It helps a little bit.
Yeah. Kyle's experiences, like, he didn't even tell me that he saw ghosts until we were like 10 episodes in. And I was like, this should have been episode number 1, man. Why are you hiding this from me?
Oh, I learn stuff from my co-hosts all the time. I have a couple of them, and I find out stuff at the last minute. So my one co-host, Squeakers, Sarah, she wanted to start setting up for the shows, like setting up the guests and scheduling. And it's at the point now, I don't even know who my guests are. I know they're going to be coming on, and it's like, I don't even know who these people are. But you know what? I find that's good, though. I know a lot of podcasters like to do their research on their guest, which is fine, absolutely fine. But I like the raw stuff. I like going live and not knowing a thing about these people and just go, who are you? Let's learn about you together. And it's fun. It's fun. I love it. I love learning something new each time.
What would you say is the biggest challenge when it comes to setting up a paranormal team?
The time, having time to actually set it up, because to run a good solid paranormal team, in my opinion, you need to have the time to put into it. Just like with the podcasts, you need to have that free time. And if you're going to take it seriously and you're going to take on clientele and you're going to, try to really get out there, you need to have that time and dedication to it, because the more you put in, the more you'll get out of it. And I don't think a lot of teams understand that how much time is needed for this, and how much money is needed. We are not a cheap industry.
Right.
We are out to spend a lot of money. We are not out to make money.
Sure.
And yeah, it's fun to, be on podcasts and, get sponsors and get out there, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of patience. And a lot of people don't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. You nailed it. There is a lot of work and a lot of money and time that goes into building something that you're passionate about, long before it becomes a business or an income stream. And something about trying to monetize spirit is really difficult.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, especially in our communities, are people, sit there and they put their evidence out there. And when they get criticized about it or, try to get it debunked, they get upset. Well, they got to understand that you can put, the Holy Grail. You could put a full-bodied apparition sitting down right across from you and having a conversation like what we're doing, and people are going to still criticize that. That's still going to happen. There's not going to be, I don't feel like there's going to be just one piece of evidence where nobody can say, okay, well, that's something, people are going to try to debunk it because that's what we do. So getting over that. And I mean, I've ran across some evidence to where it's like, I can't even figure it out. It's like, I don't know. That's, to me, evidence. That's really great. But I've also found some where it's like, okay, well, that looks like it's probably this. And then you start manipulating the evidence, like you lighten it up, you tweak it, you put it through whatever program you use, and come to find out it's one of your investigators over in the corner picking in their nose. They just didn't want anybody to see it. You know what I mean? That happened on the battleship. We thought we caught a really good, well, one of the investigators thought they caught a full-bodied apparition. Come to find out it was our tour guide. He was just sitting there being creepy. This man, I swear to God, Sam, he needed bells on. We need to put like glow sticks on and bells on this guy, because he would run through that ship silently without a flashlight. Like I was in the Navy, and even that's hard for me to do. And this guy would just, like, it was the back of his hand, like no big deal. And but yeah, come to find out it was him. It was him just sitting there, sitting on one of the benches, just hanging out, just watching. And that happens. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, we learned. Let's move on.
Yeah, that was something I picked up doing the ghost hunts that Kyle and I were on. Was this really strict kind of self-debunking, where anytime anybody picked something up, some anomaly or some, K2 meter starts spiking or REM pods are going off, there's an instant search to debunk that reading in the moment. What do you think drives that sort of attitude towards evidence, or trying to kick out false positives?
I think that stems from, number one, how we're taught. That's what we see, because we see it on the shows a lot. They try to debunk, and that's how we're trained. We as a community, we are trained to debunk. That is what we do. If we get a piece of audio, for example, it's immediately not, oh, that's a great response. It's, is that one of my investigators? Could that be something from the outside? You try to take down those negatives first, so that way when you present it, you already have that. You're like, nope, it's not this person. I already checked into it. It's trying to build some credibility. And I think that's what we're all after. So to build the credibility, you have to hit the negatives first and foremost.
Yeah, you got to clear out the false positives and demonstrate. If you want to find something like you said, even when you have definitive proof, they're going to criticize, they're going to be skeptical, and so you have to start with that kind of skeptic notion, right? That skeptic attitude.
Yep.
To even have a chance of convincing anybody.
Mm-hmm. And again, we have to be okay with these negatives that are going to come out. I mean, again, I can put out any evidence that I want to. Like I had a disembodied pair of feet walk in front of me at the battleship. I saw them. I physically saw them with my own eyes. Wow. I caught it on camera. But I still know there's going to be somebody out there. It's like, nope, that's CGI. Nope, that's this. No, screw you. I was there. I saw it. I know what was there. I can't debunk that. I mean, I tried. And even on the footage, you'll see me back up and walk that same path and move the same way, trying to recreate it. And I still know there's people that are going to be out there that are going to say, no, that's not right. Or that's this, or that's that. I was there. I know what it was.
And so finding those moments that really stand up against scrutiny must be like uncovering a diamond, dusting off a treasure chest in the dirt, something like that.
Originally, yes, it was really great. And now, I surround myself with individuals like these people in the chat and others, that I work with with the Global Ghost Hunt, with, all these organizations. We surround ourselves with positivity. So now it's not a matter of, worry if somebody's going to tear me down. It's a matter of how are they going to do it? These guys are going to support me. We're going to talk about it. We're going to work together on it. And if it's a great catch, it's a great catch. And that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have that negative feeling. You shouldn't be scared to promote what you catch. If you're proud of it, be proud of it.
So what is your holy grail right now? What's your white whale?
Well, I've seen a lot. I've seen full-bodied apparitions. I've been pushed, scratched, bitten. But I think my favorite piece of evidence that I have ever caught, and I really wish I still had this, is I actually caught an EVP of a ghost farting. And farting, yes.
Okay.
If it had pants, it would have needed a brand new set. It was that bad and messy. Oh, it was terrible. And the reason why I know it was a spirit is because, like we stated earlier, paranormal teams always have those goofballs. They always have like the jokesters and the pranksters and the fun people. Well, that was my San Diego team. We were all pranksters and jokesters. We all like to have fun. And one of my investigators was doing an EVP session and said, "Can you tell me your name?" Nothing. He goes, "Can you give me a sign that you're here?" And right after that, we didn't hear it at the time, but there was an EVP of, we'll just say, flatulence. Mm-hmm. Loud, messy, disgusting flatulence. And if we would have heard that, we would have been laughing and dying, joking. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody said a word. So when we were doing the review, one of my investigators heard it. He lost his mind, and then he stopped, and he's like, "Matt, you need to listen to this." And I went, "What?" He goes, "You need to listen to this." And I went, "Okay." So I listen. I hear him ask the question. I hear it, and I started laughing, and I was like, "That's funny as hell." He goes, "Yeah, but what don't you hear?" It hitting the floor. I mean, it was everything but that. So the splat at the end. He goes, "No, what don't you hear after?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Nobody responded. Nobody reacted to it." I'm like, "Oh my God." So you're telling me ghost fart? He goes, "Yeah, we caught a ghost fart." So that's my favorite piece so far.
The ghost of Leslie Nielsen.
There you go.
He used to walk around with a fart machine, and every talk show he'd be on, he would just do a little fart.
I think one of my favorite bloopers was actually Harry Potter. I don't know if you've seen this, but they were in the Great Hall or whatever, and they hid a fart machine in Harry's sleeping bag. And Dumbledore and Snape were sitting there talking about letting the kids dream and everything like that. And they're just pushing in the button and trying not to lose their mind. It was great. It was great.
That's hilarious. Is there a mountain that you're looking forward to climbing in the paranormal world? You talking about global ghost hunt? Tell me, what is that, and how does it fit into your goals right now?
Well, right now my goal is just help wherever I can. I'm not after monetize. I'm not after to become big and famous. And I have 300 subscribers on YouTube. I'm okay with that. Each one's a blessing.
Yeah,
I'm more after getting people on my show who want to be heard, who deserve to be heard. Little teams who are just starting out. And that's where Global Ghost Hunt ties in. I mentioned him earlier, Brian John Laverty. He runs Parapost and Parapost Network Central on Facebook. He created this event, the Global Ghost Hunt, in a way to help promote these teams and promote the locations, because there's a lot of teams and groups out there, and they have great locations with great activity that are absolutely stunning, but aren't getting that recognition that they deserve. So he created the Global Ghost Hunt to give everybody a chance to have their 15 minutes of fame. And obviously it's not going to be 15 minutes. Each team's getting roughly 2 hours, and they're going to be in the spotlight, and people are going to see them from around the world. And building a network like that and an event like that, to me, is very important, because what we are doing in our field, and especially with like the P3 program, Parapost, Paralinks, and everybody I work with, I've said this on my show. We are not, reconstructing the field. We are rebuilding the field. We are not revamping this. This is literally a reconstruction from the ground up. And our community and our field is changing. And it's for the positive. People are finally getting a chance to have a voice. People are having an opportunity to work together, to network together, build relationships and friendships. And, there's so many people. I mean, yeah, there's drama in our field. I don't think that'll ever go away. But we're weeding out these negative and toxic people who are just after the money. And, that's one thing I'm very proud of, is that network of people that I have behind me and with me.
Yeah, building a community, I think, is probably a very rewarding and very challenging endeavor. Kyle and I are kind of coming into this, and it's already been kind of established in our area. But we're not just about ghost hunting. We want to, we're exploring all different kinds of things. We have addressed topics ranging from unsolved murders to super soldiers. We had a guy on who was he has an OnlyFans devoted to ghost sex, spectrophilia. But then during the interview, he totally shifted gears and started talking to us about his experiences as a super soldier. And it was wild. It was a wild.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I got to check that out. But yeah, and I think it's important, though. I think it's very important that we build that community.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that end, the Global Ghost Hunt this isn't my first time hearing about it. I remember hearing about it earlier this year. And if you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's basically a website where people will register, and then they get a chance, they get their turn in kind of the stream where everyone could tune in and see an investigation or ghost hunt that they're doing in their local area. And it features people from around the world, presumably, or could feature people from around the world.
Yeah. So the basic synopsis, the plain, easy version, is you're right. You do go to globalghosthunt.com. You can register. But it doesn't just stop there. We have a staff of people to help with promotional tools, like we're giving teams thumbnails, videos, even merchandise, customized merchandise that these teams can use to like host an event and sell their merch, to make them a little bit of money if they want, and give it back to the location. So it's much, much more than just, a paranormal investigation. It's a celebration of these teams and a celebration of these locations. And it's full staff, full support. So if the teams have any issues, we have groups of people, of administrators ready to go at a moment's notice to help out. And I'm actually the consultant for the Global Ghost Hunt. And so even, I'm going to be able to help out. I'll be able to help out these teams, the locations, the groups, the admin. We all work together as a network. And then we have 2 10-day events, one in May, one in October of 2023. And these teams will get a certain amount of allotted time, over an hour, I will say that. I'm pretty comfortable saying that because I know Brian's looking at 2 hours. But they're going to get more than just, a half hour that some other events give them. We're going to give them ample time to show the teams who they are, what they're about, their investigative style, their personalities, and to show these beautiful locations. That's what this is about. That's the Global Ghost Hunt. And, we have guys like Barry Fitzgerald. He's one of the spokespersons for the Global Ghost Hunt. I'm super excited to work with these individuals, and everybody on the staff are amazing, are absolutely amazing. And we're dedicated to helping out.
Yeah. I've noticed that the composition of a paranormal investigator or ghost hunter always has a large technical component because of the electronic equipment that you have to try and pick up different entities. There's also a large historical component where you're investigating, researching the places where you're investigating to either determine the types of entities that may be there, people who may have had an effect or a lasting effect on such a place. And to me, probably the more interesting of those 2 types of aspects is the historical component. I'm not very, I don't really dive into technology as much as other people do, but I really am interested in the stories of the place. Which of those kind of drives you more? Is it the technical part or is it the historical aspect?
I love the history side of it. I love the historical and the stories. But I also like the technology too, because technology is evolving. So there's a lot of really cool equipment out there, and there's a lot of people who make great equipment. But hey, Kyle,
like you never left.
What a pain in the ass.
But I've always said that paranormal investigators have to have different roles. One of them being an active historian. We are actively interviewing these spirits. Like once somebody asked me, why do you even like this? I said, well, when was the last time you talked to somebody from the 1800s? And we are active historians. And yes, like Gettysburg, I mentioned earlier, Gettysburg is loaded with history, amazing stories, a lot of great facts and, things from history, but they're not all recorded. There are events from everywhere, all over the world, that were never written down. And we are actively looking to find that. So that to me is exciting, because when we start talking with these spirits and these entities, we are literally finding out stuff that isn't written down. Yeah, we have a good idea, but it's like a podcast. We know a general idea of who we're talking to, but we don't know all the information. So that's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite places? Obviously you're located in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Do you travel, in a wider range? Is it local? And what are some of the best places that you like to go?
Well, sadly, I haven't been able to travel as much as I'd like to, because obviously, that adult thing, the job, and yeah. There's people that want my money, and I'm like, well, I want to put it towards this, but they want it more than I do, apparently. So I've been to recently was the USS North Carolina. That was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of amazing people that in my community that I work with. I got to meet them for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. I also liked going to Gettysburg. Gettysburg is always, a privilege and a treat. But usually I just stick with the cemeteries and other historical locations and just in my area, just kind of wander, because you never know where you'll find something. But I think my favorite so far, I think my favorite so far has been Studio City. And it wasn't an actual just one location. It was a lot of clients, and the Studio City is right outside of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much history there that not a lot of people talk about, and the homes and just something in that environment that just makes it very active.
I feel like there were a lot of like mob members in old Hollywood and in Studio City.
Probably.
So there might be a lot of bodies buried in the foundations of those homes there.
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, what's that lake in Nevada where they're finding all the bodies? As the water's receding,
because it's drying out. Lake Powell.
Mead or something. Powell.
Yeah. Oh, Lake Mead. Yeah, Lake Mead.
Now that would kind of be a cool place to try to investigate, just to see, just because they, God knows how many bodies are coming up, barrels in the water.
Well, I usually ask this question, and I know Brian asked it on his show too. But I always ask people, where would you like to go if you could go, to a location, everything's paid for. Where would you like to go? One of the guys I work closely with, his name's Jonathan Myers from Crossover Paranormal Society. He actually said the Bermuda Triangle. And I was like, you know what? I never even thought about that. Mm-mm. But that would be awesome too. Like an underwater investigation, a couple of the islands out there. That might be something to check out.
Well, just be careful. There are some people who go there who don't come back.
Yeah. Hey, if I come back, if I don't come back physically, I have a list so people will know. I have a haunted list. I have a list of people. And then what was the other one? Pompeii. Pompeii would be another really amazing one.
Oh, yeah.
We just talked about that on my show on Wednesday.
I'm headed to Italy next summer. Maybe we'll have to put Pompeii on the list of visits.
Well, you have to let me know, because the bodies are still there.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was just like, oh crap, that happened. That was a tragedy. The energy that is probably trapped there is unimaginable. And I've never heard of anybody even
got a couple extra grand we could go.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Right? Just make it rain. All right. It's all good.
I'll have to take my stripper job back up. My dad bought OnlyFans page.
Hey, we know the guy for you to talk to about that. I was talking about Jason Porn, super soldier, ghost sex, stripper, Jason Porn.
Yeah, he would be a cool one.
Let's put that in my notes. You got to do some research tonight. Hold on.
Episode 20. It's a good one.
Oh, you should save it for second episode for him and make it like episode 69.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll rebrand it. We'll just re-release it when we get there. Well, so how do people find you? How do they get involved with your projects and get the help that you're offering?
Well, I'm on YouTube under the Paracrew Podcast. But I'm also all over Facebook. You can find me Paranormal Consultant, which is right behind me. You can find me on the P3 Family Facebook page. You can find me on Parapost Network Central. You can find all my shows there. But if anybody wants to contact me directly, you can just go to Paranormal Consultant on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I'm all over.
said P3.
Yep, P3 right here. P3 Family on Facebook. That is our public page. P3 is a group that my wife and I started called the Paranormal Partnership Program. And what we are is a closed, tight-knit community of groups, teams, individuals, people who aren't even in the paranormal field who support us. We all gather, work together as a team and as a family, really, to promote each other, support each other, and to support newer teams.
Cool.
So
I just joined.
Oh, thank you. Much appreciated. But yeah, that the P3 family is welcome to anybody. Anybody can post whatever they want on there. But to join the P3 program, if anybody's interested, you have to talk with Scott Morton, who was in the room earlier, Warren Area Society of Paranormal, or Marcus Welly from Minnesota Spirit Hunters. They're in charge of my U.S. division, and all it is just a basic agreement. You just sign to saying that no drama, no negativity, no BS, and help support everybody. It's just an agreement we all sign. I've even signed it. And if anybody in the UK is interested, Paul Stokes from Mystic Paranormal UK, he's in charge of my UK division. So you just got to reach out to him.
You'll have to come
Very
out here
nice.
to Arizona sometime and do some investigating.
Well, I actually have in the P3, there is some people in Texas. Actually, one of my co-hosts is from San Antonio. I have a group that I work with out in Fresno, California. But yeah, we're all over. We've got people and groups from all over the place.
Yeah, very nice. We're still trying to work out if we're ever going to get a ghost hunt at Kyle's house. His ghosts they're a little skittish. As soon as they found out that someone might be looking at them, they hid.
Except for the one that paces up and down the hallway.
Yeah, he was telling me about that. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, because I was talking before on, we were talking to a medium about it, and walks by, and I'll be like, I'll tell my daughter, "Hey, get me a drink." And I go out and look, and I'm like, there's nobody here. and I realized that I'm the only person in the house. I thought maybe, she came in and went in her room and she was walking back to get a drink. And all the time I do it. "Oh, get me a drink." My son will come out and be like, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "Didn't you just walk by?" And he's like, "No."
You should set up a trail cam or something.
I tried. I set up one
did.
of those one of those blink cameras.
Yeah.
And
it just silenced all the activity in his house for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just put one in a box somewhere and just set the box down. Pretend that it's just a box sitting in the hallway. Just hide it.
Because I want to catch the one that was
Stole your watch.
Oh my God, all the time. Dude, it'll be crazy. I have an Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it on the charger on my nightstand. I'll come back an hour later and it's gone. I'll tear my house apart for 2 weeks and look for it. One day I'll come back, it'll just be sitting on my bed. Or it'll be, or I have these piles of comic book boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just be sitting there on top.
Oh, jeez. I love when they do that stuff. It's like a hide and seek game. I love it.
Yeah. It likes to take the soap out of our pantry in our hallway and put it on our bed.
Huh. That's a new one.
Yeah, it's
Trying to tell you something.
I go take a shower, I guess. But I'd really like to try to find out the one that lunged at my wife a couple months ago. I was talking about this before. She was sitting there in bed. It was the afternoon. It wasn't late at night, and you know what I mean? She wasn't half asleep. She wasn't she was sitting there, and I was out of town.
Okay.
And she's sitting there watching TV, and it was I don't know if you we have Direct TV, and it was doing an update.
Okay.
So she was just kind of thinking like, but what am I going to read? I'm going to, and she was like, and all of a sudden she looks like, she looks over to my side of the bed and there's a guy standing there with like long hair, backwards hat, like a red and black shirt. And like to the point where she was like, she was like to the point where she was like, somebody is here. And so she takes, so she starts to kind of move back and it lunges at her. And so she throws up the blanket to like cover him so that she could run. So she's got like a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and the blanket just fell flat. And she was like freaking.
Huh.
Like we have another one that comes in and goes, "Where's George?" All the way to the foot of my bed. Where's George? I don't know where George is.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah, definitely. That sounds like a fun investigation.
I've tried in the past, like I've like for a long time there used to be like if we sit on our bed and our master bathroom door is open, the reflection goes into our closet of our the mirror above the sink.
Mm-hmm.
And forever we would see like this like shadow standing there at the edge of the closet just staring at us. And so for years we just shut our door so we couldn't see him, him, her, whatever, staring at us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I was like, I'm going to pick up a recorder and I'm just going to set a recorder in the closet. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to see if it catches anything. I'm going to leave because nobody's home. I'm going to leave and I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm going to see if I catch anything. I'm not asking questions, so I wasn't really hopeful to it. But I was like, maybe there's something I can hear, anything, And so I come back and I review the evidence. And, like I said, nobody was home. So I'm good. And all I heard on my recording was like it was smacking next to the recorder.
Trying to turn it off.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
that's all I got from it.
Do you guys get any like antiques or secondhand items?
The only secondhand type of items I would say we have are like comic books. Like I used to buy a lot of comic book collections and I buy, but that's like, we're not big antique people. We're not, anything like that.
And also these are things that Kyle has been dealing with his whole life. Like it's not isolated to this house. They kind of follow Kyle around.
Like, do you have any gifts, or like, are you empathic or any sensitive?
I guess sometimes. It doesn't. It's not like everywhere. It's like, it's like once I'm comfortable at a place.
I would, and just my thought, but I don't know if you have any Reiki masters around you, but I would go do a session with a Reiki healer. That might be interesting to hear what happens.
Yeah, because like it was my parents' house. Like I told this before, but when it first kind of started happening, I remember it used to be. I would see this short, fat man and this tall, bald dude sitting on our couch, and I used to tell my parents, "Hey, this is what I see," and they're, "Oh no. You're just whatever, you're just imagining stuff." and then the little girl from down the street came over one night and she was like, she went to my parents and I wasn't home at the time. And she was like, "Do you see those two people sitting on your couch?" And they were like, "What do they look like?" And she described the same thing that I had described, quite a few times in the past. And they were like, "Holy shit." So after that, they never really doubted me after that, But that first time it was freaky because I was younger. I was, 11, 12 maybe, so it's kind of, what the hell is that on my couch?
I see your curtains. No, that's cool. Raymond's another one with Aaron and Scott and myself. He's in the P3 family. Everyone loves. We say instead of everybody loves Raymond, everyone tolerates Raymond.
Yeah, you don't want to be stealing titles.
No, they're all good people. I love them.
That's great.
But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. We've just, like I've said before on this podcast, is whatever happens in our house, we've kind of just come to accept it, except for when that one lunged at my wife. But other than that, it's kind of like, okay, this is kind of what happens. And we're on like don't bother us, we won't bother you. If you want to hang out here, so be it.
That's cool, though. That's really cool.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Matt. We really appreciate your time and sharing your experiences with us.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, and hopefully, a lot of our viewers are paranormal groups, and so hopefully they reach out and at least become part of the Global Ghost Hunt, which is a fascinating event. I think we were told about it by a previous guest many months ago. That's kind of how we got wind of it, but it's a fascinating event. And the next one you said is coming up in October.
May 4th. May 4th, oddly enough, is the first of 2023. It's May 4th through the 14th, and then I want to say October 13th to the 23rd. But all the information, including registration, is on globalghosthunt.com.
Awesome.
And to all our viewers, there were a lot of new viewers of the chat who probably came with Matt. You brought your entourage. We really appreciate you being so active in the chat. Like, our chat is like a ghost hunt. The more participation, the more fun it is. So thank you guys so much. If you like our content, you like our discussion, please be sure to like, comment, or subscribe. And until next time, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.